here with Create Life Paper Words, and I have for you day 5 of my France travel album. My husband and I were in France in October for 10 days, and I have been slowly working on getting my album finished up, and I actually have been recording everything so you guys can see it. So what I decided to do, and you can take a look at I think it was like my getting ready, but you can see that all of my days follow a very similar pattern. The first thing is that there's a 6 by 12 that says day 5, and then it's got a bunch of journaling. I did this so that I didn't have to do a ton of journaling throughout the different days pages, and then it was all in one spot. On the back of that is a 6 by 12 photo, and generally I picked one of my favorite photos from that day, or something else that I picked was maybe it was a vertical, what is that, portrait orientation as opposed to a landscape. So for the most part, that's how I chose that photo. For day 5, we went to Fontainebleau, which is southeast of Paris by, I think it was about a 45-minute train ride, and it was one of the actually colder days that day. The morning started out pretty nice, but as we got into Fontainebleau, it was a little bit cooler, but it was still absolutely beautiful. And the good thing about that is that my pictures are really gorgeous with it being a little bit overcast. So really happy with how all the photos turned out from this stop in our trip. I'm not going to really talk much about what I'm doing because, to be honest, I don't do a ton of embellishments on any of these photos in my trip album. The reason for that is because I printed at Costco and they are so glossy, I can't get StazOn to stick on them. And I should have remembered that. I did that once before for, I can't remember what I printed, but I really love to stamp on my photos, and that's my embellishing. So I had a really hard time. A lot of these photos I just sort of left as is, mainly because I just want to share my photos in a fun way to look at them. The odd one is embellished, but like I said, I'm not really going to be talking much about that. You can pretty much see what I'm doing. It's pretty self-explanatory. If I do some journaling, it's something very specific that I didn't talk about in my day summary. So it'd be more of a feeling or more of a story as opposed to more of a factual or chronological order. And I have discussed this before. I have a hard time getting away from the chronological. Even when I try to do a story-based one, I find I'm still reverting back to the chronological turn of events. If anyone has any suggestions on how to help me with that, I would absolutely love to hear them. It's something I'm going to be looking at in 2018 as I start deciding how I'm going to do my project life. So yeah, I'd love to hear any suggestions you have. This transparency is from a very, very, very old Studio Calico kit. I want to say from like 2015. And that is really sort of it. I don't do a ton of embellishing. What I did do, and this is more because of how many photos I had, and I didn't have quite enough to do 2 9 by 12 layouts, but I had too many to do 1 9 by 12 layout. So I ended up taking a 12 by 12, folding it in half, and then I'm using a paper clip up at the top to hold it in, just because my album is a 9 by 12, and so that little extra 3 inches is going to stick out, and I don't want that to happen. So that is essentially how I have gotten like this part together. And then I think what happened is I ended up finding a few photos after I finished this, and I probably could have done 2 9 by 12s, but I don't know where they were hiding, or I don't know if I had sort of put them aside and then put them underneath something, which happens a lot in my life, it seems. But I did have a few extras, so I do have to go back and add them in, but that's just fine. So And this is sort of where, so a lot of times what I do is I put everything together, and then I go back and see, okay, where do I want to fill in? And I think this is when I realized, oh, I still have some photos. Oops, yeah, see, they were hidden. So Fontainebleau is absolutely beautiful. I was like jaw dropped over the chateau there. It was just gorgeous, and the staircase was so amazing. And that's what these photos were from, was most of them were from the staircase of my husband and I. We took very few photos of ourselves this trip. We always forget to take photos of ourselves. I take more photos of myself like at home doing nothing than when I'm on a vacation for some reason. I don't really know why that is, but it's something that I really do need to work on. And it looks like I have a hockey puck right over top. I'm not sure if that's what that is, but that's what that looks like. I'm sure one of my little children decided to add it. Yeah, so it was beautiful. The biggest issue we had was there wasn't a ton to do. We did go on a Monday, and a lot of the shops were closed. So like we really wanted to visit the chocolateries, but sadly a lot of them were closed. So that was very unfortunate. I did not get a whole bunch of chocolate this trip, which is very sad, but that's how it is. So the grounds, of course, were beautiful as well, and we did spend quite a bit of time walking through them. Though it was a little bit cooler, I feel like if it had been even like a couple degrees warmer, or the wind hadn't been so cold, we probably would have spent way more time walking the grounds than we did. But yeah, it was like absolutely fantastic. So let me think what I am doing here. I think I'm trying to figure out how exactly I want these in, and if I'm going to do more embellishing. And when I flip it over, I realize I need to add some type of journaling card. Most of my journaling cards, actually I should say most of the cards that I use in this album are from In a Creative Bubble. She had some Paris ones, and she also has some really great traveling, explorer, that type of theme cards. And so I picked up a few in August in preparation for this album, and I really love them. I ended up actually printing, so I printed everything off to get prepared for this, and then I actually halfway through ended up using them all, but I loved them so much just because there's so much white space on them and they were going with everything, that I printed another set off again just because I love them so much. So that is this album, or sorry, that is this day. This is day 5. I definitely have 4 more days to do for you guys. So thank you so much for joining me in day 5. If you haven't seen the other days, you can take a look back. I do have them as a separate playlist you can look at. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at Create Life Paper Words, or you can subscribe to me here if you aren't already on YouTube. Again, it's at Create Life Paper Words. Thanks for joining me, guys, and we will see you for day 6. Bye!